Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. So in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you how I revise, because this has honestly been my most highly requested video for months and I thought it was about time I shared it with you. I feel like this is going to be really helpful for you, especially if you're in year 11, because obviously GCSEs are not that far away, but I'm sure we'll all be absolutely fine and hopefully these tips help. So I'm going to be talking about a few different things in this video. I'm going to obviously talk about how I revise and the actual techniques I use, but I'm also going to be talking about routine and keeping motivation, because I think that plays a big role as well. The first revision technique which I use, which is honestly my absolute favourite, is of course writing notes. I'm sure if you follow me on Instagram you've definitely seen pictures of my notes before. So the first main thing that you need to do when you're revising is obviously understand the content. So writing notes is a really good way to do that, and I basically use my textbook and some line paper, choose a colour scheme of pens, and I will condense the notes from the textbook onto my paper so that it works for me and so that I understand it. When you're writing notes, remember to condense them from the textbook. Don't just copy them out, because that is something that will definitely not work for you. It won't be as effective as if you kind of create them into notes that suit you and that you understand. If you struggle with condensing notes, just underline all the really key points in the textbook with a pencil or something, and then convert them into bullet points onto your page so that it just makes a bit more sense to you and it's not so much to read, it's not too overwhelming. Something that I started doing when I had my year 11 mocks was making mind maps, because I've never really used them before and I thought I would give it a go, and I found them really helpful. Once I've written my notes, I might convert them into a mind map to stick on my wall or for people to test me. It's obviously just a clearer way of seeing it all, and you can colour code it so that it makes a bit more sense to you. And the other thing that I do, which is similar to writing notes, is making timelines. So obviously this mainly goes for history, but you could kind of make a timeline for English if you're doing a text. So say you're doing Macbeth or something, you could make a timeline of the play. That might be helpful. I would make a timeline with all the key dates on and what happened on these specific dates, colour code it, and then I stuck it up on my wall behind my desk, so I would constantly be looking at it, and then when it came to the exam and I needed to recall a date, I could easily visualize where it was on the timeline. That obviously might not work for you, but I thought I would give it a go and it definitely did help a little bit. So yeah, and they're also really fun to make. So if you want a more chilled revision activity, definitely go for a timeline or a mind map. So those are ways that I will understand the content. The next step is to practice memorizing it. So you need to get that content into your brain long term, not just short term. So for this I use flashcards and Quizlet. Flashcards I will make in two ways. I'll either condense my notes even further onto a smaller card and I'll just write the key dates, bullet points, keywords, definitions, things that I definitely need to know and that I forget quite a lot. I find that that was quite a good way of doing it. But the other way that I made flashcards this year was by writing questions on them. So I would reread my notes and then I'd be subconsciously asking myself questions about the notes, and if I couldn't answer that question in my head within a couple of seconds and it wasn't coming to me straight away, I would write that question onto a card and then I would keep quizzing myself and practicing answering those questions until that information had gone into my brain. Okay. And then also for my mocks, I started using Quizlet. If you've watched my exam week in my life, then you will have seen me use Quizlet like 100 times in that video, because it honestly became an obsession of mine. So obviously my sets on Quizlet are public, so you can definitely use mine if you want to. I'll put my username on the screen, but I would actually recommend making your own, because if we do different exam boards then they won't be helpful, and also the wording of my definitions and things and the way I remember something might be different to yours, so it may like say that you got it wrong even though technically you got it right. Yeah, it's free and so easy to use, so definitely recommend doing that. So after I've understood all the content, those are the two specific ways which I recall it. And then the final step is to apply that knowledge, so aka past papers. Take your time with them, print them off, go through them really slowly, and obviously it doesn't matter if you're getting them wrong, because practice papers are called practice papers for a reason. You're going to come across questions which are going to be similar to the ones that are on your exam, so you'll know exactly the right approach to answer those questions. I did a few of them for my mocks, but I'm definitely going to do more leading up to the GCSEs, so get yourself a past paper. If you're in like year 8 or 9, then you won't want to use GCSE past papers, but I'm sure that you can actually find the end of topic tests and like different versions of topic tests on the internet, so try and have a look for them if you want a past paper way of revising. So those are all of the ways that I actually do revision when I'm at home leading up to my exams. But now I'm going to talk about routine and the way that I kind of structure my revision, because I think that plays a big role as well. The first thing that I'll do is I'll work out when my exams are going to be. So I found out the date that my mocks were going to be, and so once you found out the date of your exams, then you can start structuring when you're going to revise. So for example, I knew biology was going to be my first exam, so I set myself the target that I was going to write notes for 2 weeks, then I was going to have a week where I'd do like active recall and quizzes and stuff, and then I'd have around a week to do past papers. And structuring a revision this way was really helpful to me because I hate timetables. I find that it's too timetabled and too strict, so if you want a different approach, then go for that. Also writing to-do lists. On a Sunday evening, I'd write a to-do list of all of the revision I wanted to get done that week, and then I could just pick and choose when and where I wanted to revise that subject. So then leading up to the exams, around a month before, I would maybe do like an hour a night, but then as it got closer, I began to do at least an hour every school night, and then maybe 3 hours on a Saturday or something like that. So during my actual exam weeks, obviously you can go and watch my vlog and see what sort of revision I was doing, but I would do around an hour when I got home from school, have dinner, do another hour, maybe a little bit more than that after dinner. I would make sure that I was still taking a rest day, so Fridays I always take as my rest day, and then on the weekends I would do around 3 or 4 hours of revision. Another thing that I did to structure my time was I would do morning revision, and I would do Quizlets when I woke up in the mornings on the day of my exam. Obviously I revise a lot, like I'm not gonna say that I don't, I definitely revise a lot, and if that doesn't work for you and that seems like way too much, then please don't feel pressured to do that. Obviously I'm just telling you what I do, but you can definitely still get good grades like without revising as much as I did, but that's just what worked for me, because otherwise I get stressed. If you are in like year 8, 9 or 10, I would definitely recommend starting your revision now. Like if you've got a test or an exam coming up, then do revise for it, even if you think that it doesn't matter, because even though the grade probably doesn't matter, you learning how you're going to be revising and working out what revision works best for you is going to be so helpful. Because I started revising for tests when I was honestly in year 8. I was that child that genuinely cared about their grades. And I'm so thankful that I actually started doing revision, because at this point now in year 11, I know exactly what works best for me. So if you are in those younger years, take that advice. I promise it will be very helpful to you. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video, and I hope that it was relatively helpful for a few of you. Let me know if you use any of these tips or pieces of advice, and if they work for you, I would love to know. But thank you so much for watching, and thank you for all the love on my channel recently. I really appreciate it. But yeah, that's everything for today. Bye guys. My hand just got stuck to my lip gloss.